Hey guys, Landed Bulk with Magic Spiral here. So why would I release an album on one of these? Because I'm a hipster indie musician and I think it's quirky and funky and fun and cool and ironic to release an album on one of these cassettes? Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell.
It's Type 94.9. 94.9! Screwed up.
Our next guest is Tupac. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Tupac's dead.
This is the earliest audio recording my friends and I made that still exists.
Goofster of the gangster. Goofster. Goof's the gangster.
Yeah, I'm a gangster. Hot 94.9 plays Utah's funniest jokes.
Just kids pressing record on a cheap boombox pretending to be radio DJs. What else did you do in the 80s and 90s with blank tapes? Why, you captured songs from the radio or dubbed music from your friends, of course. But what if there wasn't enough tape left at the end of a side to record a full song? I needed to fill every inch of that valuable blank tape, plus silence is boring. So I made my own improvised little ditties to finish the sides.
This song is Rhapsody. R.I.P. It's O-N-Y. This song is really short. I say not really long. Rhapsody. I say Rhapsody.
Things escalated from there when I dedicated 2 blank 60-minute cassettes to my first album called Radiohead. Yes, a double album. Start strong, kids. The premise of this album, and others that followed, was to make the raunchiest music we could think of. Imagine if somebody bought a tape expecting some soothingly boring adult contemporary music or something, but got this instead. As an adolescent berated for being inappropriate, these tapes became a sanctuary where I could be shamelessly crude and I could get away with anything. Just what would my mother say about this banger?
Eat some, squeeze some, put a stick of butter in my butthole.
I'd certainly be grounded for this #1 smash hit.
I poop and I gotta wipe my balls. Flap, 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 flap goes my balls.
In these recordings, we'd experiment by abusing the tape decks to get sounds that they're not supposed to make. Things like mashing the pause button, and we found that by pressing down pause just enough distorts the tape speed.
Eating a bucket of fish. Eating some fish and cat.
I obsessed over tapes. I was mystified and enamored with the technology. I wanted to know how it worked. How is sound possible on a strip of tape? How is there different music on each side going in opposite directions? I'd stare at the reels spinning, time songs with a stopwatch, and fix tapes when they were broken. I knew some tapes well enough that I could pinpoint where a song starts on the reel. Every night I would keep my brother up by sifting through tapes to find that one song for my cassette alarm to wake me up to. Then along came the CDR. I eventually discarded using tapes when CD burning technology became readily available. But when I moved to Austin in 2012, I found a 4-track at a Goodwill that struck my curiosity. It looked fun. It didn't work, so I didn't pick that one up, but when I went home, I bought this 414 on eBay. I teared up a bit when I played back my first recording. That all too familiar sound I'd forgotten about came flooding back like it never left. I'm sure you know the general feeling I'm talking about. Pressing the record button has always been one of my favorite things to do. So this sent me on the path to learning everything I could about analog recording technology. I dedicated a lot of time to reading manuals, deep forum diving, and going through my share of trial and error. This brings us to the Tascam 238. This multi-track deck came out in 1988 and arguably remains the height of analog cassette recording technology. It's an amazing machine. I used it to record all of the backing tracks for Morbid Euphoria, the album I'm releasing on cassette. Today, an album gets released digitally on streaming and download platforms, so of course, that was the first step. That's the easy part. You find an online distributor like CD Baby or DistroKid, submit your audio and cover art, and you're all set. Finding a cassette distributor isn't difficult, as there aren't many, but there's a lot more decisions to be made, and these decisions cost money. You also have to format your artwork to a template. I spent a lot of time on this. Fortunately, I'm friendly with Photoshop. At the time of this video, I only received the audio test pressing. I'm hoping that my submission doesn't return me with Spinal Tap results. So why am I releasing an album on cassette? Why would anyone, for that matter? Your average music listener is likely streaming on YouTube and Spotify and probably doesn't have a cassette player handy. Really, there's only a niche audience of cassette collectors and enthusiasts out there. In order to take full advantage of the sound quality that a cassette is actually capable of, you need to invest in a good tape deck. I have yet to fix this one. I use CDs and vinyl for focused music listening and generally stick to cassette for multi-track recording. So why release an album on the format? Simple answer: personal fulfillment. Going back to those early tapes I made, I could have only dreamed that they'd be professionally printed and available to buy in stores, even if they were just a joke. Now, it's only a limited self-published print, but it's still professionally pressed. I'm happy that I'll be able to sell copies through my local record store. Why now? Why Morbid Euphoria? Last year, I came close to doing a cassette run of an album I made using the 4-track called Pick Your Brain, going as far as completing the artwork for the booklet and submitting the quote. It was a good preliminary, but I wasn't ready. With Morbid Euphoria in the works, it felt like I was jumping the gun. I spent out of pocket to get the tapes pressed, and there's not even a guarantee that I'm going to sell 10 copies. It's enough for me just to do it. Really, I wish to sell them all and have to order more copies because people are enjoying an album that I put so much time and effort into. So why not release an album on CD or vinyl? For starters, cassettes are the more affordable option. Ultimately, with this project, I aim to honor my commitment to the tape medium and to celebrate the format. There was a time when you had to have a physical copy of a song or an album if you wanted to hear it at any given moment. We dubbed mixtapes, then burned CDs, now we share streaming playlists. Now that physical media is optional, why would you buy an album if you can conveniently stream it for free or include it with a monthly subscription? I think that same answer lies with why I'm releasing an album on cassette. It's because sometimes we want a tangible experience. I don't expect anyone to have a tape player handy. It's awesome if they do, but that's why a download is included. I don't want you to just listen to the album. I want you to have an experience with it. The song sequence was carefully considered. Like many great albums I'm influenced by, it's meant to be heard in order from start to finish. One thing I miss about listening to tapes is the inherent shortcoming. You have to fast forward and rewind around the tape to find the song you like. This inconvenience means you just end up letting the tape roll. Know how many times I've heard this Wu-Tang tape on repeat in my car? Exactly. Now that I've done cassette, the next goal for me is to have an album pressed on vinyl. I feel it's the ultimate canvas for an album to live. Follow the link in the description if you're thinking about picking up a cassette copy of Morbid Euphoria. You're only supporting the channel if you do. So what do you think? Am I just a hipster indie musician who thinks it's ironic and fun and cool to put out an album on cassette? Is it just a vanity piece? Am I alone? Who am I?
Crying in my despair.
I wanted to do it. I am proud as hell of Morbid Euphoria, and frankly, I'm excited to get that box of tapes. I'll do an unboxing video when they get here so you can see my reaction and so you can see what the tapes are going to look like. Until then, I'm Landon with Magic Spiral Productions. Do what makes you happy.
Take an Allen wrench and shove it up your nose.
My head was fell off, but I glued it back on.